Welcome to Fandom Power.
What is up, guys? It's Wes, and I'm back again with your latest installment of Fandom Power Presents Order 66, our 4-part review series of the final 4 episodes, the last arc of the final season of the Clone Wars. Once again, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Andrew Dawe.
Yo.
And our good friend of the show and regular co-host, Hank McClocklin.
Gentlemen.
Hello, guys.
Glad to be back.
Oh, my God. I can't tell you how excited I am after having a very unscheduled hiatus for what? How many weeks have we been absent? A lot.
A few.
I stopped tracking them, yeah.
Yeah.
COVID has affected the world, and we are not immune to that. So here in Ontario, where Andy and I are in the studio, we were under a mandatory stay-at-home order. So we thought that doubled layer, even though we are in each other's social bubble with the stay-at-home order, it was just better all around for us to observe that and make sure that we were doing everything in our power to keep everybody safe. So we all decided to take a break.
Perfect. It's true. You got to be safe. And I sort of don't laud Nova Scotia for a lot of things, but perhaps the rest of Canada should look at what we're doing here.
The Atlantic bubble. Yep.
Yeah.
The Atlantic bubble.
It's working really, really well in certain spots. And the only cases that seem to be popping up are imported.
Yeah, really. We've got our first case of the UK variant just down the road, like 40 minutes away from us. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to
we've
follow.
been mandatory masks in public places since March of last year.
Yeah, so have we.
Yeah, and I was surprised at a friend that came from Victoria that they were just walking around openly there.
Yeah,
completely,
one of the health units near us, Simcoe County, after what, 2 weeks of being back to be open, are shifting back into here in Ontario we use a color coding system. Essentially, it's a 5-tiered system, so they're going back into the gray zone, which is the highest level of lockdown that you can be in. So they are going to be fully locked down again as of Monday. So,
my word.
And they're like the health unit that's right next door to us on the western side.
That's
western side.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's an ever evolving thing.
I know. So,
but we're back.
Yes, and that is what's most important. So a few things have happened since we've been away, and because we are such Star Wars fans here, you can't help but not be you couldn't have avoided it. I mean, if you were following anything Star Wars over the last several weeks, and having just come off of our Fandalorian review series of season 2, The Mandalorian, I don't think we can move ahead without at least putting our 2 cents on what's happened in the world of Lucasfilm, Walt Disney, The Mandalorian, and Gina Carano and her character Cara Dune.
The Dune in the room, I think.
Yeah,
you said earlier.
I did. Yeah, addressing the white Dune in the room. Or what was the other joke I made? It's now Cara Dune.
Oh man.
So I'm not going to I don't really want to dive into the whole political stripiness of the whole thing, but I'll just succinctly, for me, I think if you work for an organization that has a social media policy, that's on you. You kind of agreed to that when you signed up for the job. The other side of that is I would just like to see, that, when you do have a social media policy, that policy is applied evenly across your employees, which from my perspective, that may or may not be happening.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and maybe even take it a step further. When you work for a corporation that is expressly, and I mean, it entertains us, but that's because we're weird.
Yep.
But it's expressly built on the entertainment for children.
Yeah.
You've got to mind your P's and Q's in public. And to throw away television, like, the cusp of stardom, your own television show in the Star Wars universe, to just chuck that away because I got a joke around my work site is shut the F up and make $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
really. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of it was almost like a sort of golden spoon in the mouth, like opportunity, and it's opportunity lost. I know that she's pushing ahead with other avenues in her career. I understand she's got a film project in the works being funded by Ben Shapiro, I heard recently. So
Yeah, that's a strange cat to do that. But I mean, I wish her all the best. I don't wish anybody any ill will.
No, me neither. I hope that she's
fact
able
that she's
to
trying to take Star Wars down with her is kind of weird, but hey.
I hope that she on a personal and a professional level is able to find some level of recovery, that she can, find her footing again. But like you say, like, I hope that that's done without having to take anybody down in the process. Like, stand on your own merits. Don't try and tear other people down.
It's not very classy to drop celebrity names.
No.
Like, I don't find that very classy anyway.
But let's talk about let's talk about the Cara Dune character specifically. It's come up before, and my thoughts are, we've seen this a million times. I mean, how many 007s have there been? How many Batmans have there been cinematically? So, can the Cara Dune character survive with a recasting?
I'm not that attached to the actress. She's not an Academy, like we enjoyed the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And you go back and listen to our shows, and one of the best things was that she was it wasn't about how, like, we didn't talk about how wonderful an actress she was.
No.
How she was nuanced and portrayed the crap out of, she should win Academy Awards for this. We talked about how we had a strong female that looked natural.
Yeah.
And not like a Barbie doll.
Nope.
In a lead role. And it was empowering women, and that's that. And so, if we stick to those guns, and we want to recast the character, that's fine with me. I also don't think that she's that integral to the universe.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
You could just introduce a new character, a la Cara Dune, if you will.
We've seen this before with other properties and other franchises where characters have just disappeared, and they've had like a one-liner throwaway line to explain their absence.
That's why I sent that sort of Simpsons meme to you guys.
I have to go now.
Yeah, exactly.
My planet needs me.
If they choose to move ahead without this character, I hope that there is some closure there, and not just a proverbial Disney turned their nose up at the character and just say nothing, and she's just never spoken of again, because I think that does a disservice to the character. Never mind the person, but
she's backwards on my shelf right now. I'm not sure how I feel, so I just kind of turned her backwards on the shelf, right? Like, I was like, well, I need a minute, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, with the Marvel universe, when they recast Rhodey,
exactly. Did anybody really bat an eye at his recasting? To be like, for me, Don Cheadle's the man.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to piss off any actor, but Don Cheadle is the man.
Yeah.
And that line was perfect for it.
Which one? Maybe next time.
I'm here now. Deal with it.
Look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on.
Oh, yes, that's right. I was thinking of Terrence Howard's
Next time, baby.
Then there was no next time. Yeah. So, anybody hear any casting rumors for potential recast?
No. I have heard casting rumors for Ezra Bridger. I can't recall.
Oh, you know what? I heard that one too, but it wasn't enough for me to dig in and want to. I'm like, it's too early for that. We're not there yet, so I'll pay attention to that when we're a little closer. Maybe it's a fan thing, but there was a lot of traction in the last couple of weeks with Lucy Lawless.
Oh, wow, yeah. No, my wife said the same thing.
And I think when you throw up some headshots of Lucy up against Gina, there's a passing similarity there. But at the same time, certainly. I don't know how old the photos are that they're using, because I think like, I don't want to be ageist here or anything like that. I mean, look at Sigourney Weaver has been cranking out action properties, for 30 years. And I'm not saying that Lucy Lawless couldn't, but
she can. She recently did that Ash versus Evil Dead.
Did she?
And she rocked that.
Okay, so maybe it's just me and my own ignorance, because I haven't really followed her lately. But I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, so would I.
All right. Well, I don't think I have anything else to say on the whole Cara Dune thing.
May the force be with her.
Yes, and I wish her all the best in future projects, and hopefully there'll be something out there that we can all sink our teeth into and enjoy, just as we did with her portrayal on The Mandalorian. Now, gentlemen, shall we get back to the business at hand?
Cue the Emperor cackling.
Yeah. All right, we're back, and this one's a big one. It's it's our Order 66 Part 2. It's episode number, I think it's 13. I didn't write that down. It is called The Phantom Apprentice. It has a runtime of 28 minutes. This one, as was the rest of the season, written by Dave Filoni, directed by Nathaniel Villanova, who essentially directed pretty much half of this season. If you go back and you look at his directing credits, he did half of the arc with the sisters on the sub level of Coruscant, and he's got at least one or two more in this arc here, the final arc. So we get the opening shot. We get the Lucasfilm logos in green, just like they were cinematically in the last episode. But this time, our Clone Wars title card comes up in red. Did it come up in red in the last one?
It did.
It did. Okay, so red title cards, no change. Our opening shot picks up right where we left off in the last episode, and we see Maul with his Mandalorian Super Commandos, or the Mauldalorians, as you like to call them, Hank.
They actually call them that in the descriptive audio. I watched the descriptive audio this morning, and I flipped out. I was like, is someone listening to me, or am I subliminally hearing that crap?
Well, that's interesting.
I flipped out this morning. They call them the Mauldalorians.
I was watching.
It's very organic.
I was watching here in the studio. I have an Amazon Fire Stick at home that I use to watch TV at home, but I have an older Roku device here, and for some reason, I could not turn on descriptive audio. So, I kind of watched it sort of raw.
It was a horrible British fella. I'm sorry to whoever it is, but we couldn't really get into it.
Okay, fair enough.
Not nearly as nice as the lovely lady who does the Mandalorian.
No, she's awesome. I'd like to hear more from her.
Super informative still, but
yep.
Anyway.
So the Super Commando Mauldalorians and Maul facing down Ahsoka in an underground tunnel junction beneath the capital city of Sundari. Maul reveals that while he knows Ahsoka's name, he's not really familiar with her. And Ahsoka retorts, "Well, I know you." Maul sarcastically mentions that they have some mutual friends, which Ahsoka does not take too well, replying that, I wouldn't put it that way. And Maul continues with his exposition, saying that her way of thinking is outdated. Realizing that she's outgunned and surrounded, Ahsoka takes a moment to trigger a beacon, which alerts Rex and the other clones of the 332nd of her whereabouts. Maul posits why Ahsoka came to Mandalore and not Obi-Wan and Anakin. For me, in this moment, I thought it was interesting because he's having this whole conversation, and as much as he's talking to her, I got this impression like in this moment he's not talking to her anymore. He's talking to himself. Like, why you? Why not Kenobi?
He calls Skywalker Kenobi's foil.
Yeah.
At this point, he's rethinking his plans.
You think so, eh?
He's on the fly right now.
Yeah, because by the time we get to the end of the episode and he lays it all on the line, like you kind of like, oh, yeah, he really is like, wait a minute. This isn't the way I tried to put this together.
That, actually,
yeah. Ahsoka returns some of his sarcasm by saying to him, well, why don't you just surrender and we can go ask him? But Maul casually is like, well, surrender will be pointless because both the Jedi and the Republic are about to lose any controlling interest in the galaxy. I kind of wondered if he was going to... It had been a while since I'd watched it, and you kind of wondered, like, is he going to lay it all out for her right here, right now? And then it's like, no. Because at this point...
says, she draws sabers on him, and he just literally said, not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's still, like Andy said, he's still trying to formulate exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and
he's
I think
almost got more knowledge here than anybody else in the situation except for Sidious too.
He really does, and it's gonna.
He knows all the moving parts, and he understands what's about to happen, not necessarily how it's going to happen,
right?
But that it's imminent.
And it's unfortunate, like we had that long bit in our last episode where we talked about sort of what happened to him in between, what happened in the comic books, his imprisonment.
Right.
Because that comes into play later in this episode about his perceptions of Dooku.
That's right.
At this point, though, we get the moment we get broken up when the 332nd arrive, and there's a brief shootout. And like you say, the whole not yet thing, they kind of clash blades, and there's a brief duel, which ends when Maul force pitches Rex across the room into Ahsoka, and then they make their getaway down the tunnel network. So, Rex and Ahsoka, they go off to give chase. They split up. And we get a couple of like quick flash snap scenes where it's like, oh, there's a person, but you're not sure who it is. And then we round the corner and it's Ahsoka and Rex face to face, and Maul has gotten away. Which is really typical of this character. Like, if anything, Maul has been consistent with his getaways. You know, the guy, and Obi-Wan, right? Like, he's hard to kill.
Hard to kill.
Yeah. And I think across the whole series, if there's one thing that's been consistent, is him getting away.
A thought occurred to me too, like if we know sort of based on what George Lucas has said in interviews, and not explicit in canon, that a Jedi is diminished by losing limbs or losing body parts. It's a function of their midi-chlorian count. Everybody hates that. But if Maul is half the Force user, ostensibly, that he could be,
right?
How friggin' powerful was he?
It's a good question.
like maybe an Anakin, very close to Anakin or something like that.
You would think so. Like maybe on again, that whole like balance thing, like, you know, for every light there's a dark, and are they the counterpoint to each other? I mean,
and Lucas has said that he was meant to be sort of the big bad at the Emperor character at the end of episode 9 if he had his druthers.
Yeah.
And so, it just makes you wonder, like.
Well, let's face it. I mean, the Clone Wars, and I don't mean the TV series, but this particular era of Star Wars, that is the weakest element, I think, of the films, is the ineffectual use of these awesome villains that you present us with a character like, and it's not just Maul, but like Darth Maul, General Grievous. Like, these guys are like, you think, oh my God, they're like so badass, and then it's like, oh, okay, there, he just got taken out in one swing.
And it might have been even sort of a function of trying to the Boba Fett people on purpose, and you know what I mean by that.
I
like,
do, yeah,
right. And I think that it really comes into focus. It's like it's not even a question that's what they were trying to do with Captain Phasma from the
Phasma, so missed.
Trying to make her weird and mysterious and hardly on screen, and only one or two, you know, lines that were terse, and so it just didn't work. I would have liked to see her being a full-fleshed character.
The fact that they insinuate that they're going to shove her into a garbage, like a trash compactor, and then, you know, she dies by essentially falling in a pit. Like, oh, such a waste of a character.
So I think that in some sort of way that, like, he just had design people trying to hit things, and when they hit them, they were like, okay, here's a villain, let's use it.
Yeah.
And that they got lucky with sort of like Ray Park pulling something that to light, like, you know, the way he moved in the film.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk about that again today, because that's one of the big I guess we can call it an Easter egg for this episode, but we'll get to that and have a little chat about that, because that's a lot of fun. So we cut to the throne room, and now we see Ahsoka, Rex, and Bo-Katan, and they're in a briefing with a holographic projection of Obi-Wan looking over an image of Sundari. Bo-Katan says that the clones have been as effective as promised, and there are just a few more firefights to mop up. But without capturing Maul, the whole thing could fall apart very quickly, and he must be captured before he can escape the planet. Ahsoka reveals that Maul had mentioned the name
Darth Sidious,
and Obi-Wan lays it on the table for them. He says that Darth Sidious is the Sith Lord that is suspected of orchestrating the Clone Wars and manipulating both sides from the very beginning. Obi-Wan continues saying that he first heard the name from Count Dooku, but that they won't be able to learn any more from him, as Anakin has killed him during the rescue of the Supreme Chancellor.
This is where we realize that we've begun to overlap Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, very much so. In a moment of insight, Obi-Wan asserts that losing Dooku has meant losing a vital link to the understanding of the mystery surrounding Darth Sidious, but perhaps by capturing Maul, he may be able to fill in the gaps and solve the puzzle. Ahsoka asks for more troops, but Obi-Wan cannot afford to send any more because he's been assigned to hunt down General Grievous on Utapau. Ahsoka asks about being reinforced by Anakin, and Obi-Wan asks for the room so that he can speak with her alone.
May I speak to Ahsoka alone for a moment?
This kind of moment is an interesting one because, as you all know, Obi-Wan is my boy. He's my main Jedi. He's my favorite character in all of Star Wars, so I tend to scrutinize him maybe just a little bit more than any other character in the franchise.
I agree. I hold him to a higher standard.
I do. And so he goes on and he talks about, Anakin being placed on special assignment by the Council to the Supreme Chancellor. And Ahsoka does not take it very well. Like, she knows he's been asked to spy.
They told him to spy on the Supreme Chancellor?
So it's very much like her reaction to Obi-Wan is like, oh, wow, this is like paralleling the reaction that Anakin had.
The same phraseology. Same
very
words.
much, yeah.
To spy on the Chancellor?
Yeah, like, what? And Obi-Wan was like, you're asking him to do what? Even talking about, the Chancellor has been an ally and a friend, and Anakin can't be pleased with this. So... And I know it's the animation style doesn't always lend itself very well for like conveying emotion without word, but you can sort of see it in the facial expression in Obi-Wan that like there's something up here.
Yes.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan goes on to tell her that the Supreme Chancellor has stayed in office for far too long and the Council wants to know what his intentions really are. Ahsoka rightly guesses that Anakin can't be happy about the assignment, and Obi-Wan then suggests that maybe Ahsoka could speak to him, which she very derisively says, what, so I can reinforce what the Council says? So, I mean, it's clear at this point that Ahsoka is still pretty upset with her treatment by the Council that resulted in her departure from the Order.
Yeah, and then Obi-Wan reveals his true purpose for talking to her in silence, though, next.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
It's sort of the same thing with when he goes to Satine, the last time that he is involved with Maul, where he comes to a part where like he's a Jedi, but he's this other human being at the same time. And it's the same choice, but now he, like when Satine died, and we talked about that in I think the previous episode.
That's right.
That was his release from that side of himself that couldn't separate him from the Jedi code. But now that he knows something's up, he's still got this compunction to help Anakin as a friend and a father figure or a brother outside of what's going on with the Jedi Order, because he does know that something's up, just like you said. So the best he can do is say, I don't agree with the Ahsoka. You need to help me.
You've hit it on the head in a way that I couldn't, because when you say we talked about it before about, they don't really expressly say that something happened between Obi-Wan and Satine, but something happened.
3 years in his teenage years.
Yeah, and that there's something going on here, but Obi-Wan, ever the paragon of Jedi culture, he's chosen the Order over everything else. And so, he acknowledges that the Council isn't always right.
The Council isn't always right.
And I'm just going to... I actually wrote a little bit here where just my own thoughts. I said that we know at this point from our understanding of Revenge of the Sith that Obi-Wan is already concerned about Anakin's relationship with Palpatine. He knows that Padme is pregnant and that Anakin is the likely father. This moment shows some serious insight on Obi-Wan's part, and I think that he's already worried about Anakin falling to the dark side, even though he doesn't verbalize it, which is why he asks Ahsoka to talk to him. It's as if Ahsoka can say all the things that Obi-Wan can't, because she's not part of the Order. And even though the moment is just a couple of seconds, it's really heartbreakingly tragic, because the moment is fleeting, and yet another opportunity to save Anakin from himself is lost because Rex bursts in, announcing that there's another attack. And the scene kind of closes with Ahsoka asking Obi-Wan, tell Anakin, and her voice kind of trails off, and he says, I will. And the sad part is, whatever it is, presumably it's, an I love you, whether it's, or, I'm thinking of you, that moment is never going to come.
Never comes. The very next time Obi-Wan and Anakin face off, they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah. And so it's so tragic in the same sense of Satine telling Obi-Wan that she loved him and always will. And he doesn't even give the I know, like not even the Star Wars, the legacy line of I know, which would have been wholly inappropriate anyway, but still.
Dave Filoni is a friggin' genius.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the cyclical nature of Star Wars and talking in stanzas and the use of sort of legacy across the franchise, and this is just one more example of how the nuance of pulling that off, and this pulls it off very well.
Very well.
Well, next we switch over and we get a sweeping aerial shot of the ground outside that shows us a few bodies of some clones and super commandos alike before the camera raises up and then pivots downward, looking down another tunnel back into the Sundari underground. At the base of the tunnel, we see there's a wounded clone he's being tended to, and he warns Ahsoka that Maul has torn through their ranks and that somehow he knew that ARC Trooper Jesse was an older clone and then took him alive. Jesse. Holding Jesse captive, Maul makes some overtures about telling him everything he wants to know. Jesse defiantly refuses to talk, and Maul then dispatches Gar Saxon to secure Prime Minister Almec so that he does not become an asset of our enemies. Maul then turns his attention back to Jesse, where he asserts that he has no choice in the matter and that he will either speak or his mind will break. At that point, Maul begins to forcibly interrogate Jesse and asks exactly who is Ahsoka Tano.
In this moment, though, the Mandalorian walking down the hall, you can see he's maybe not a little sold on Maul's interrogation methods.
Gar Saxon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know, maybe it's foreshadowing or whatnot, but like kind of setting up that maybe they backed the wrong horse in this race.
I think he realizes that because he's a traditionalist. Yeah, he's a madman, certainly, Gar Saxon, but he's a traditionalist, and that he has to back Maul. At this point, he doesn't use it, but Maul's got the Darksaber.
That's right. Yeah.
He doesn't use it in this fight because I think maybe he subconsciously thinks if Ahsoka Tano wins, she has Mandalore.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Plus, I think the double-bladed lightsaber is very iconic. Anyway, we'll get.
Yeah, I think thematically that speaks more to the character. I mean, yes, he's got the Darksaber, and it's enough for him to have it for us to know that he is the guy in control. But
it's easy to forget that he has it at this point too. Because it's not a focus of anything. It's just ambient in the background. He's still the ruler of Mandalore.
Oh yeah, thematically though, the double-bladed saber does make more sense.
Yeah. And I think that's why her lightsabers are blue as well.
Yeah. We touched on that in the last one too.
That's right.
Whole why are they blue now? So we have. I wanted to talk a little bit here. This is the music. There's a bit of a musical cue here, and I couldn't help but think, is this the same music that they use in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin is, the remaining council with Mace Windu? They go off to arrest Palpatine, and that music plays where he's really struggling with what do I do? It sounds very similar if it's not the same piece of music.
Quite possible.
Yeah. It's part of Anakin's theme, I think.
It's very
it descends, right? It's like the last few bars before it transitions into Vader's theme almost.
It's I don't even know how thematically it's eerie, it's creepy, it's sad and kind of sinister all at the same time, it's that
the gate that they play it at, right? Like if they sped it up, it would sound more like some sort of hybrid Imperial march.
I suppose so. Yeah, you'd have to play it considerably faster though to get a march out of it.
That's right.
But through that musical cue, are they really setting us up like time frame wise? This is what's happening.
This
exactly.
Is what I wondered. Like, is this a point? Are we at that same point? And in my mind, I'm like, maybe is this to tell us that right now Anakin is struggling right now in the Jedi Council chambers while they are going off to arrest him?
Maybe.
Right, because it's also, keep in mind, Revenge of the Sith, it's the music that he used when he murdered the children. It's the same piece of music. When he marched, when he and the 501st marched on the temple. The temple, yeah.
It's true.
I don't think we're there yet because Ahsoka would have felt through the Force.
Well, yeah, we haven't hit that part yet. He hasn't become Darth Vader yet, but certainly that whole struggle with I need him. Like maybe that is where we are, sort of in the overlap.
Timeline-wise?
Like spoiler alert, or jumping ahead because we've had these episodes for a couple of years.
Oh, I know. So
the next episode, those lines are delivered in the moment that as they happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You remember her on the bridge of the ship?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Those lines come to her as they happen. She feels them as they happen on the bridge of the ship.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, she's on the bridge of the ship, present for the moment that Anakin ostensibly kills Mace Windu.
That's right.
Which is the final moments of his fall.
Mace Windu. Another lost opportunity.
Yeah.
At this point, we have... what's that?
So let's get Theory to bring him back.
Oh, yeah, really? I am so stoked to see what he comes up with next.
The trailer looks dope. I know it's just a little minor thing, but it looks really, really good.
Yeah, if you guys aren't paying attention to YouTuber Star Wars Theory, go check him out because he's got this amazing Darth Vader fan film that he's fully funded on his own and is working on a sequel.
Now, Theory, you do us.
Theory, if you're listening, we love you.
Wicked.
Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and Rex go to the Sundari prison to question Almec about Maul's escape plans, where Almec tells them that there really is no escape plan because Maul feels that escape is useless, and he's been feeling a sense of dread for weeks. Ahsoka asks if he's mentioned the name Sidious, and Almec says that no, he has no recollection of that. Well, Bo says to Almec, "You said that he wanted Kenobi here. Why?" Almec responds with, "Not just Kenobi he wanted, no. There was someone else that he was interested in." And in a moment of what I call, sheer stupidity, Almec, thinking that he has some leverage by withholding the name, starts playing coy. If only I could remember.
And then, like what you said before, like that scene, the look on Almec's face, like the animation is brilliant.
Yeah, because
the expressions are like the way he does, like fantastic.
He's got not to make I'm gonna make the analogy. He's got like the Gaston, the look, the curled smile, like Disney villain, eh?
Cookie jar.
Seriously, like what's the fingers rasping together?
yeah. Snidely sneer or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wicked.
Until Ahsoka beckons Bo, help him remember.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But
She's not Jedi anymore.
We talked about this in the last episode, and this is such a contrast for this character because in the previous episode, back in season 5, when Almec was in prison and he got approached by the brothers, he was so calm and cool and collected and like, dude, like you are standing in front of 2 very powerful Force users, and you're like, yeah, so. But in this episode, it's a totally different contrast. The second that Bo-Katan, like under the threat of physical violence, he caves, right? Which is the complete opposite of what we saw before. But
well, he might have felt valuable before, and this he knows that there's just no value to. Like she would kill him. Bo-Katan would just kill him.
I think she would, yeah.
Given her druthers, you know what I mean?
Oh, I think she would. I mean, she's lost her sister at this point, and I'm sure from Bo's perspective, she's got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
So maybe he's smart enough to understand that while he could be a pawn for Maul, that he's useless. Besides this one little piece of information, he's useless.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like literally like, no, and he's about to like spill it. And then we find out what happened to Gar Saxon as 2 blaster bolts streak in through the open door, striking Almec in the chest.
And if I have a problem with anything in this episode, it's this, and that's that those 2 same shots kill Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan dead in that scene, and it's a whole different thing.
Meaning they should have?
Well, not that they should have, but that like if he clearly got those shots off that they didn't notice between them, twice in the chest, he could have clearly taken out higher target enemies.
That's true.
Those 2 shots. And they both had their backs turned, helmets off, heads exposed. I'm not wishing it on them, but it's a crazy plot hole for a guy.
No, I guess so. I think maybe
not take out 2 high value targets.
No,
like
that's
that
true.
2 shots.
At the same time, though, Maul did specifically say go tend to the Prime Minister so that he does not become an asset. So, I mean, if you're about to spill the beans on the plan, I guess the priority was to silence him and then deal with the others, which we know that didn't work out.
Yeah, I think he ostensibly wins the fight for Maul right there.
He sure could have. Yeah, I mean, he definitely could have, because I mean, they, like you say, they had their backs to him. Why he didn't do it, I don't know.
And he put the shots between them, like
under
one person's armpit kind of thing, you know, like
yeah, really.
Anyway, moving forward.
Yeah, so sniper position from a higher level in the prison level through the open door. Bo immediately gives chase, and Ahsoka dispatches Rex to get a medic. Almec in his dying breath tells Ahsoka that Maul has been having visions, and when she presses him for a name, he answers Skywalker.
Kind of mimicking the Yoda line.
Yeah, very much, eh?
Well, the previous, there is another, could almost be a throwback to Yoda too, right?
Possibly, yeah, maybe.
In, why did he want Kenobi? And he's like, oh no, there's another.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good point. More subtle. Yeah, you're right.
I feel like this sequence kind of confirms for us, the viewer, that through the Force, Maul has foreseen Anakin's fall to the dark side, and has, his becoming Sidious's new apprentice. And even though, again, talking about that, the animation and its limitations, even though Ahsoka's expression doesn't really reveal anything, you almost have to wonder, is Ahsoka now starting to piece it together for herself? Maybe. I
say that Maul implicitly knows what's about to happen because his plan hinges on luring Anakin there to deprive Sidious of his prize.
Yeah, exactly.
So he knows implicitly what's about to happen.
Meanwhile, Bo-Katan giving chase to Gar Saxon, and we're treated to this pretty cool 3-dimensional fight sequence where the two of them are leaping down an elevator shaft on jetpacks and trading shots with each other.
Mm-hmm. Using like whistling birds and
they're using all the armor stuff.
Shields.
Yeah. Yep. Saxon gets disarmed and the fight becomes a melee on top of an elevator where he then kicks Bo-Katan into an adjacent elevator shaft, which just happens to be in the path of a rapidly descending elevator. Using his flamethrower gauntlet to distract her, Bo defends herself with the same energy shield that we talked about in our last episode, the same energy shields that I complained were glaringly absent from The Mandalorian, and I'm still complaining about it.
Because of the weak-ass Beskar they're using, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Struck by the elevator, Bo overloads her jetpack to slow it down and eventually stop it before getting crushed, which is a bit of a surprise for the Mandalorian loyalist and the clone soldier who happened to be riding on it.
It's a Superman moment for me. She's like,
very much
Superman moment, stopping a moving train or plane or what have you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Or
she touches down so gentle at the end.
Yeah, and then the fizzle on the from the jetpack as it kind of craps out.
Fails right at the end. Fails right at the end.
Yeah. Then we get a bit of a shift, and we go back to reuse of animation assets here. We go back to that tunnel junction, which I am going to say is probably another tunnel junction because you'd never go back to the same one.
Right.
And really cool little fan service moment here where there's Maul at the center of the tunnel. Rook Cast looks on. Gar Saxon's kind of walking up, and he sees this holo transmission, and it's the heads of the Syndicate or the Shadow Collective. So we've got the head of the Pikes, the Black Sun, they never do say if it's Shizor or not, but we've got the leader of the Black Sun and Dryden Voss for the Crimson Dawn.
Voss.
Yeah, standing there at the center. Entering the chamber, Gar Saxon asks Rook what's going on, and she tells him that Maul has ordered the crime bosses into hiding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you figure it would be prudent for Palpatine to strike out at all those guys too.
Well, I mean, he's said it now that the balance of power is about to shift, and well, even here, he's already taking steps to preserve whatever he can in the wake of what he knows is coming. The whole sequence, the whole sequence acts as a bit of an exposition piece about how he was wrong about Dooku, and Maul realizes now that they had way more in common than he ever thought. Both of them being former apprentices.
And this brings really home to that comic Son of Dathomir, where after having humbled him, capturing him, Palpatine parades Dooku in front of him.
He gives Maul gives that. He actually makes that's where the reference comes from. You once liberated me.
That's right.
And that's where you have this moment of like, what's he talking about? So if you didn't read the comic, you're like, wait a minute, I missed something. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's. I encourage everybody to reach out. I think there's even a motion video on YouTube. There's all kinds of ways to enjoy this media now without shelling out tons of money.
Yeah, of course. You can go back and listen to our last episode where we kind of expound on it, I think.
Oh, it's true too.
At this point, he gives what I call the coach pep talk. Coach Maul and his team, he gives them what I call the worst pep talk in television history about how if we got to move to seize any power we can, and then if you're gonna die, then you'll die as warriors, and they all get behind it, even though it's a terrible speech but serves a purpose to speak to their the base emotions of we're warriors.
Well, you get the same idea in like 300, right? If we're going to die as warriors.
I guess so.
That's what we march towards.
Leonidas was far more inspiring, though.
True.
But tonight, we died in hell!
He does make a reference to them not living like rats in caverns and stuff.
Yep.
Which is sort of diametrically opposed to the way we see Mandalorians in The Mandalorian.
Which is exactly what they're doing. Yeah. It's funny that to make that connection. I never actually thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that adds so much more depth to the whole covert thing.
And the other point to make here, he says, if you die as warriors.
Whereas, there's no mention.
There's no we.
Yeah, it's you.
You know what? If you die, you die.
But isn't that Maul though? Like,
there's another line at the end where he expresses the same sentiment when we're being overrun.
Oh, that's right.
Die well.
Yes,
die well.
yes, he does.
You're listening to Fandom Power.
Meanwhile, on the surface, back with Ahsoka, Rex, and Bo-Katan, they're overlooking what looks to be like an evacuation of Mandalorian civilians. Standing on a balcony just outside the throne room, they turn to enter the throne room, and Bo-Katan asserts that neither she nor the people will tolerate a long, drawn-out siege.
Rex is pretty adamant here. Like, well, you asked for our help.
Exactly.
My men aren't police.
Yeah,
they're not having fun here.
My men don't want to be acting as a police force.
I really I enjoyed that line a whole lot because it really speaks to the whole soldiers are not police, and given what's going on in the world today, doesn't it make sense? So Ahsoka says, well, as soon as Maul is captured, the Republic forces will leave, and Bo, you'll have your chance to lead. None of them actually notice sitting in the throne room on the throne, Maul, who's like,
I agree.
Is like, oh, okay. So Bo immediately charges him, pistols blazing, and he really has this what I refer to as a Kylo Ren-esque moment where he starts bending, like not deflecting, but literally bending the bolts around him.
Curves them out of the way. And this is why that when I watched that scene a few times in a row this morning and a little bit last night, I was like, how friggin' powerful is this guy be when he's not cut in half?
Oh,
he's curving blaster bolts with a wave of a hand. And you got to think too, amplifying that, like the dark side right now is so like Revenge of the Sith, where Palpatine's like drinking it. It's almost like he's like Dracula drinking blood. Oh, the dark side is so powerful right now.
It's the strongest it's ever been.
Right, exactly. And then so that's feeding, like Maul is effortlessly wielding, these are the things that you're seeing in the High Republic comic right now that the Jedi are doing, like crazy abilities, because the light side of the Force is just unchallenged, unmatched right now in that era.
One of the things I noticed about this episode, particularly with Maul and his dialogue, and I haven't really touched on it because it's hard for me to get the same inflection that Sam Witwer uses, but you get this, like, he kind of goes in and out of his own sort of madness, as it were. Like, he's these moments of like clarity where everything is very clear and precise, and then it kind of goes off into this like fevered pitch where he's practically yelling, and then it brings it back down, and you're like, dude, like, is he insane? Like, what's going on?
Have you ever seen the footage? It's out there of the actor.
Oh
Sam
yes,
Witwer,
yes I have.
Doing the Obi-Wan fight scene.
Yeah, from the in the desert. Yes, I did.
When he screams Kenobi.
Oh
man,
how many?
Oh man,
how many takes did he have to do for that? Because I'm telling you, that was. It looked like he was really, really exerting on that.
Yeah, oh man.
Props.
Just incredible.
Super props to Sam Witwer for giving that character all the development that he's gotten over the years. It's now difficult to go back and remember that it was another actor in the film, not Ray Park. And oh my God, it was what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Oh goodness,
I can picture him. It wasn't the guy who played Yon Rog, was it?
It might have been.
Who played Yon Rog, Andy?
Oh, Jude Law.
It might have been. I'm going to have to go back and look, but we know, anyway, my point was, thank you, Sam Witwer, for making a incredibly memorable character and for coming back full circle, live action. It's Sam Witwer in Solo.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. I agree. Bo charges, the whole pistol, bending the blaster bolts, none of which hit the restrained Jesse that I didn't realize was there until they release him. So anyway, so he holds her in place and asks, is that any way to treat your rightful ruler?
Oh, yeah.
Which, depending on your own interpretation of the Mandalorian warrior tradition, may or may not be true, depending on how you feel. Yeah, Jesse on his knees, bound in binders. Maul releases him, and Jesse, as he kind of struggles to get to his feet and get away, apologizes to Ahsoka and tells, I told him everything.
I couldn't help it. I told him everything.
At this point, we get a reinvigorated force of super commandos on the wing, begin to assault the surface of the city, and then taking Jesse with them, Rex and Bo leave to join the battle, which leaves Ahsoka and Maul to face off for the second time this episode.
There's a couple of things here that, when the explosions start going off in the background,
yeah,
really reminded of the scene where Emperor and Vader have Luke on the second Death Star,
watching the battle.
While the tide is turning against our heroes.
Very much so.
And the casual way Maul says here, "Oh, don't worry, we'll be fine." He's so dismissive, so confident.
There's another line there. Somebody might want to deal with that.
One of you might want to deal with that.
I think was the line. Is that
yeah,
now, or is that later?
I think she says, Ahsoka tells Bo that maybe she should go and help your people because there's a wave of those commandos coming into the city, I guess.
You should go. Your people need you.
That's right. And I mean, that's their cue to take Jesse and get out of the room.
That's right.
So standing in front of a window in the throne room, Maul observes the battle below, and he starts to rehash the perceived reality of Ahsoka's journey from his own perspective. And ever the manipulator, he lays it kind of bare for her, detailing her departure from the Jedi, noting that it was motivated by the Council's hypocrisy.
I left voluntarily.
He gets her there.
Yeah, oh, does he? And he can.
This is a Sith tactic here. Telling the truth is a crazy Sith ability
yes.
that they have. When you realize that the Jedi trying to protect you, or not like you, but one, or their own,
yep,
will spin the truth to suit their needs.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen twice now. This is the second time where he literally, Maul lays it on the line. But we've seen Dooku do that in Attack of the Clones.
When he's talking to
Obi-Wan. He literally says, this is what's happening. Here's the Sith Lord Obi-Wan. Join me. We'll defeat him. We'll bring order to the galaxy. And you almost, like, he's telling the truth. I know that every Sith is going to,
is eventually going to turn on their own. Right? Yeah.
You almost get like, Dooku's eyes hadn't turned.
No, they hadn't.
Right? Like, so there's something there. Like, I don't know.
The novelization of Attack of the Clones really dove into sort of his sort of where his headspace was, and he believed that he was doing the right thing. He actually thought that he was leading a revolution for the betterment of the people. He really believed that.
This is no bad guy thinks they're the bad guy.
No, they don't.
And this is why you have it's so organic when you see Ahsoka fall. Like when the Jedi, fall out of favor with Ahsoka, and you can see that breaks Anakin's heart because he knows she's right, but he's torn to his loyalty to Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
And this is the thing that's tearing him apart.
Yeah.
I think more than the Padme thing, honestly.
On some level, I think so. I mean, I think they're held. I think Padme and Ahsoka are held sort of on an equal. It's equal, but it's not equal. I mean, there's romantic love, and then there's the love of. Mm-hmm. I don't want to call it sibling because it's not that.
Almost a child. A child.
Yeah, almost.
It's a special relationship that they have. And you're right, and it's so much better developed than the romantic relationship that was just sort of crammed into 2 movies.
Being able to spend so much time.
How clunky Attack of the Clones was.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
the 2 actors just didn't have chemistry, and that's nobody's fault. It's just, that's the way it was.
They really tried on, but the opportunities, the writing opportunities just weren't there. You know, what you can only take a senator out of the Senate so much to have her traipsing around the galaxy having adventures with her, secret lover. Her secret husband. So, I mean, that's just it's not a failing. It's just that's just one of the confines of the framework that they were in, which unfortunately, Ahsoka kind of fills that void where it's like, well, here's the person you can go and do all those things with, and we can really develop her.
That's right.
Think of, if Padme had have dropped out of the Senate and became sort of his swashbuckling partner, it would have been different. Maybe we would have felt different about her. But that's a story for another time, I guess.
It's true.
So Ahsoka clinging to what I kind of think is, sort of the last sort of shreds of her own ignorance or even innocence, kind of retorts with, "I'm bringing you to justice." And Maul kind of tears that down with the next line by saying, "Justice is merely the construct of the current power base."
Fantastic. I don't know where I've heard that before.
Goes right back into that, what I call the madness, inside his head, and goes off and starts revealing the plan that,
a base which, according to my calculations, is about to change.
The power base is about to change when Sidious reveals himself. At
It's
this
just
point,
like saying that history is written by the victors.
Very much so, yeah. Ahsoka beckons Maul to help the Jedi.
With your help.
To stop Sidious before it's too late. But Maul knows it's already too late.
Too late? For what? The Republic to fall? It already has.
So this is where it kind of gets a little bit creepy. And again, talking about those parallels, like the whole Dooku Obi-Wan dichotomy. Join me, Obi-Wan, and together we'll, defeat the Sith. As Maul basically says, he suggests that only he and Ahsoka can stop Palpatine. It's and in some ways, I felt, again, we have the musical cues, and we have this. It's a feeling, that echoes. Remember the conversation that Palpatine had with Anakin at the opera, sort of the tone of that,
Best scene in Star Wars,
and then
so
it's the same kind of tone that he had when he revealed himself in the Chancellor's office. It's a very similar feeling.
And for me, this was very, it made me feel more connected to forward than back to the way that Maul also tries to recruit Ezra Bridger in Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost the same speech.
Yeah, really. It didn't work with her. Maybe it'll work with you.
And it's the same speech that every Sith, and it's like they start to believe their own hype. Vader does it, the same speech in Empire to Luke. Join me, and together we will
rule the
end
galaxy.
this destructive reign and bring order to the galaxy.
Exactly.
And it's the same. It's like the Sith buying their own rhetoric, and it's the rule of 2, and it's the idea that one day the apprentice will kill the master and become the master.
That's right.
In an endless cycle. And ironically, you're always trying to train the person who will kill you and rule so that they can train someone to kill you and rule, kind of thing. Yeah.
He says to her, "Every choice you have made has led you to this moment." And then he literally holds a hand out to her, like he offers his hand.
Well, in his own twisted way, he's showing sympathies because he puts them on the same ground. Like, Sidious threw me away, Jedi threw you away.
That's right. And I think he's definitely playing that. when he said that we were both tools for a
sure.
higher power, right? Like you have to
he's
know.
not lying.
No, he's not. Like
he's telling the truth right now.
You have to know that we were just cogs in a machine.
He firmly believes that Ahsoka at his side, that they could defeat the Emperor.
Oh yeah. So it gets real quiet here, like to the point where like it's like you could hear a pin drop in the throne room, and Ahsoka actually comes back with, "I'll help you," which the first time around, I didn't expect that. I did not expect that at all, for her to say, "Okay, I'll do it.
I will help you."
But then she's like, "You have to answer one question."
You have but to ask.
And then she asks him plainly, "What do you want with Anakin Skywalker?"
He is the key to everything.
And then we realize he actually does know.
Oh yeah,
everything.
He
that's about
does,
to happen.
because he just lays it out for her, like Anakin has been the key to everything. Ahsoka refers, kind of takes it back to the prophecy of bringing balance back to the Force, and Maul just like, nope, to destroy. He has long been groomed for it. And again, not lying. And she doesn't want to believe it because she says, "You're lying." She accuses him of lying.
You lie.
And, but Maul's like, "No, I'm not lying." He's like, "I'm so sure of myself that I basically orchestrated the whole war here to draw Obi-Wan and Anakin out so I could kill Anakin." And this is where you said before, Hank, to deny Palpatine his, what was it? His prize?
His prize,
yeah.
His pupil, his yeah. The key to Palpatine's success is Darth Vader.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so if he can kill Vader before Vader becomes Vader, he either thinks that at that point he can redeem himself in the Emperor's eyes and become his apprentice again, because there's got to be that lingering in his head. He's a madman after all.
I kind of wondered what was going on here. Like, what was he thinking by laying that out there?
He either thinks that he can replace Anakin as the apprentice and therefore save his life, or he knows wholesale, and he oscillates too in the way he talks, or he knows wholesale that he's got to establish his own power base, and it would be a lot easier to have the Palpatine out of the picture, which is also the Sith deluding themselves.
I think so. Right? I mean, we saw that with the whole him trying to take Savage as an apprentice. Like Maul would rather be the top of the food chain than number 2.
That's right. And I mean, he's genuine here. Like the look on his face, he's a tremendous actor in terms of the character. Maul is acting the crap out of bothering her right now, and the look of compassion on his face right now.
Yep.
You watch that scene and look for the compassion in Maul as he's holding his hand, and then the moment that glass breaks.
Oh, I know. I got a question though. Like at this point, when he's laying that all out for her, do you guys think that in Maul's mind, it would actually make a difference in terms of the outcome of the Clone War on a galactic level?
No, I think that he's thinking now that in the wake of what's about to happen, no Republic, no Jedi Order, that then ostensibly there's the briefest of moments there, and Anakin sort of had his opportunity too. There's the brief and Mace Windu, the briefest of moments where that's reduced to one man, one force wielder, and that in single combat you could change the tide of the whole show. And I think that Maul maybe believes that before the Empire becomes the Empire, with ostensibly Anakin out of the way,
right,
that he and Ahsoka, or he and Ezra Bridger, or he and someone at his side can destroy the Emperor. And she says it right on the nose. That's why she draws her lightsabers right now. And replace them with yourself.
That's right. She retorts, telling him, like, your vision, I know Anakin, and your vision is flawed. And he definitely does not like that.
I wish it were true.
yeah. What does he say to her? Looks like the apprentice needs one more lesson. Yeah. So now this gets to this is the big eye candy moment of the episode. And I kind of went back and had another look at this, because I knew that for those of you who don't know, this lightsaber duel, from here on to the end of the episode, it's full motion capture, and it's Ray Park as Darth Maul coming back to the role, and it is a visual smorgasbord of fighting.
And guys, it's Lauren Mary Kim.
That's the part I didn't know.
Okay, and now she's got some credits that you'll be really familiar with.
Yeah.
She is ostensibly the house stunt double for females on The Mandalorian.
Yep, that's it.
So she's played Omera She's played the Armorer.
Yep.
She's played Ahsoka Tano.
Yep.
She's played Koska Reeves.
Yep.
She's played Morgan Elsbeth. She's played Fennec Shand.
Yes. I think she's played everybody but Bo-Katan.
Yeah, and also Cara Dune.
I think she was doing her own stunts, to be honest, but hey.
And I watched this several times, and I watched it specifically. I watched it once like a fan, right? But then I watched it, and I was watching Ray Park. Like I was trying to just watch him, you know?
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
Same thing with Ahsoka. And the third time when I did that, I was like, whoever they got to do Ahsoka like she's got some things in there where like she's flipping her lightsaber, letting it go and catching it. They're so fast, it's hard to catch. Like, but she's doing some amazing real things. And then when I saw that there's a clip out there.
There's a behind the scenes
where these people are wearing the mocap suits, but on the monitor that the directors and the producers are watching, backgrounds aren't rendered, but those two characters are fully rendered as Maul and Ahsoka.
Yeah, not just wireframe model, but
fully rendered. And that's the difference using this game engine now instead of film engines.
Oh my God. Yeah. This is where I struggle, and I've struggled with this before, is trying to describe the beats of the duel, and I just cannot do it justice, and even more so in this one because it is so fast and brutal and elegant and beautiful and all of the things all wrapped up into one neat package.
Yeah, it might be my favorite lightsaber battle.
I was contrasting this against Duel of the Fates, and I'm like, because I love Duel of the Fates. And I dare say that this one is as good. I don't know if it's better, but it is as good as Duel of the Fates.
I'll concede as good.
For sure.
It's got some things, and you can tell like there's the leaping double strike, and he does it in the duel. Ray Park does it in the Duel of the Fates.
Yep.
The leaping double strike with the double sword. And you see that stuff. One of my favorite moments for the entire all of Ahsoka's character, her lines, her growth, her coming to age, and her becoming like, a Jedi, and then becoming this other wonderful thing is this Maul. The line she delivers to Maul here after he disarms her of one of her sabers, and they have this that samurai pause where they're sort of one another, and she says, "Oh, it's a good thing Anakin didn't show up.
That's right.
You've been fighting like this, you wouldn't have lasted long."
The
way you're fighting, you wouldn't have lasted long.
Like, she's so cocky in that moment. She's just gone toe to toe with the Sith Lord, and she's learned a thing or two about this guy.
Right, and he's learned a thing or two because he comes back with, "You have Kenobi's arrogance."
It's wicked. It's such a good. And when you step out for a minute into the real world, and you go, this character Ahsoka Tano goes toe to toe with Darth Maul, and she goes toe to toe with Darth Vader.
Oh,
so by both. She's one of the toughest Jedi. Like man, when you think about that, like all of the characters that that we consider, like, I guess you could say Mace Windu fought Vader for a split second, but there's very few characters that have, if any, maybe Obi-Wan is the other character that has dueled both of these characters and gone toe to toe, and it makes her a serious Jedi,
top tier swordsman.
Yeah,
swordswoman, swordsperson,
swords person.
Sure,
fantastic.
Saber wielder.
Wielder.
There it is, gender neutral.
Yeah, so we get this. The duel is interspersed with like clips back to the ground battle, and at this point you can see like the ground battle is very much in favor of the Mandalorians, where the Republic forces and the Loyalists are kind of getting their ass kind of handed to them, and then we see Rex and Bo kind of show up, and they kind of turn the tide, and very much as sort of has been the way with the show in general is the clones are able to rally and of course break out and they begin to advance, and then the tide turns.
Yeah, and it's this moment because the duel turns as the tide.
Yeah, exactly.
It's oscillating as the battle's oscillating. It's very well crafted.
It goes back and forth, but like once the heroes show up, it becomes a little bit more one-sided to the point where we get that moment with Gar Saxon where he drops back to cover so he can radio for help. And this is the moment where Maul just abandons him with that line, die well, Mandalorian.
No, quick!
You die well.
Die well.
Yeah. And then he goes off to make his escape.
He's been kicked out the window.
Oh, that's right, because Ahsoka did punted him out the window first.
Which was a nice little detail to see the double saber cut through the wall.
Very much.
All at the same time.
Yeah,
There's another thing that Lauren and I were talking, we were speculating, because there's the briefest of scenes where Ahsoka does a double strike at Maul, and he blocks it for a split second with the hilt of his lightsaber.
I never looked.
Wait a minute. And so then Lauren was like, well, he's on Mandalore. They could have built him a Beskar lightsaber. And I'm like,
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose so, yeah.
The briefest of things, but he definitely blocks two lightsabers with the hilt between his hands. Like,
Okay, I'm going to go back and look at that scene again, because now I believe you. I'm like, did it? What? Yeah, I guess so.
Gotta be perks to be in the ruler.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, man.
So persistent as she is, Ahsoka pursues Maul up into like high above the city, and I don't even know what that structure really is.
Maybe
it's
like a protective dome or something.
Is it part of the dome of the city? Because the city is domed, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's probably what it is. It's the understructure.
It's hella high up, because when the
yeah,
almost not even make out the footprint of a ship behind.
Well, this is what I mean. Like you don't really get. There's very few sequences across the series where you get a really good look at the cityscape itself. But you can tell from where they're standing on that framework, which is pretty much like just a few inch like I-beam girder kind of bars that they're standing on. You're looking down and you're seeing the tops of like multi-story skyscrapers.
That's
you
right.
know,
You're
like
way up.
holy crap. So yeah, she's kind of followed him up there, still determined to bring him in. And she kind of says after Maul dismisses Gar Saxon, from behind.
Obi-Wan was right.
Obi-Wan was right. You are hard to kill. And then he's still sort of that, we could have destroyed Sidious. But Ahsoka's like, what? So you could take his place? At this point, things kind of change, and Maul's comm chimes in, and we get a female voice that says, we must make our escape. But Ahsoka is like relentless, and she's on him once again, and the duel continues.
On these girders to watch these characters just like flip around and like.
This is where I was another point where I really kind of leaned into the whole. It reminded me of the Duel of the Fates when they were standing on those platforms, I guess, with the energy beams. But he ends up trying to like cut the beam out or the girder out from underneath her, and like you say, she was disarmed of one saber. Then she gets disarmed of the other one. She slips up, falls, but catches herself.
And it's kind of like a parallel between her and Anakin with the losing the sabers.
Oh, yeah. And then, no one's there to scold her for dropping
not
it.
This time.
There's a scene, too, where she's weaponless, and Maul cuts the beam that they're standing on, and then flips over her. And I thought for sure, and this is what I would have done, is cut the other side of the beam, because then she's standing in open air, just like a Warner Brothers.
Well, exactly. I don't know why he didn't do that, but
I fully expected that to happen in some other way but he chose to like get up close and personal with her.
He did.
Man, I mean, she just grabs his saber and does exactly what he should have done.
Exactly. Not before we get a quick flash to Rex, who sees you can see the silhouette of a ship above the dome with the spotlight coming down between on them, and he's like, "We got to get the gunships.
Come on, get the gunships."
So they go off to rend some aid, and like you say, like he goes to make one final. Looks like an overhead chop, and she like just handily catches it, and it's so fast. I had to watch it a couple of times. Catches the saber, essentially trades positions with him on a piece of metal that's like 4 or 5 inches wide at best.
Yep.
And basically tosses him out into the void, and then grabs him with the force like nothing happened. Like, whoop! Like, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And he's immediately like, he knows that it's over, and then just right back into that madness part.
Tantrum.
Yeah.
Tantrum.
You're all going to burn! We're all going to die!
Let me fall. Let me die.
Let me die.
Yeah.
We're all going to die. You're all going to die.
Yeah. And he's
I was your best
screaming.
only hope.
Yeah, oh yeah. What's the last word? He says something about you know not what you do. or what you've done.
You don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
At that point, the LAAT gunships kind of show up. The doors open, and we've got a mix of clones and loyalists, and they wrap him up nicely in cables. And
I believe it's even Rex that stuns him.
It might be, yeah, because they do. They stun him. He's unconscious, and the episode kind of closes with Ahsoka standing there on the girder, kind of staring up at the starry night sky, and we get our fate.
She has a moment just before that too. As soon as they stun him and he falls limp, and the two clones have him on the tethers.
Yeah,
that's the first time she relaxes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And she got taken to her limits there. There's another moment just before, like Andy said, where she throws Maul out the window.
Right.
She's all game, but there's a little tiny scene of her there where she just takes a split second, and then she's like a person for a minute, where she's like, her face changes from like daunting and willing and able to this like
take a breath moment.
It's like a child, like where she's and then right back to the face. Like she takes 2 breaths like that.
Yeah.
Right back. It's so powerful. And then you get to see her realize that how the limit she was just taken right to the edge of her abilities there.
So let's talk about being on the edge and talking about limits. And let's recontextualize that, and let's talk for a second about how committed was she to the cause when she said, "I'll help you." How far do you think she was willing to go?
I think it depended
what
on
he
his
did there
answer.
in that scene. He led her, to make these conclusions. The way he was steering her mind there, and the way he told her the truth, and the way he laid it on the table, so that she started to think about the order of operations there, and came to a conclusion where, well, yeah, maybe she thought she was more powerful than him and she could use him like a tool, because she certainly uses that same thought after Order 66 takes place in the next couple of episodes.
That's right.
And so I think partially in that moment she believed that she could use him, but I think that certainly threatening Anakin's life was a trigger for her that is understandably
it all hinged on the answer to that question. What do you want with him?
I think this episode, more than any other, well, with the exception of her leaving the order, not coming back to the order when they go, "Oh, it's all better now and you can come back," and her saying no, I think this episode stands on par with that one in terms of, like, I think this is where we see Ahsoka lose her last bit of childlike innocence. It's
certainly
it's gone.
Yeah,
it's torn away. And who better to do that?
Hardened, seasoned veteran. And this is another thing, and you'll be able to attest, Wes. Like, she's a child and she's a veteran of war.
Yeah,
imagine that. Like,
we tend to be sympathetic towards child soldiers, but typically child soldiers, in our world, aren't making like galactic altering decisions.
This is it. The weight of the galaxy is on this child's shoulders, and she's so powerful and noble and she's honestly above all that. She's always trying to do the right thing, and that more than any other character that we've encountered, that right thing doesn't include what the heroes, the Jedi, of our whole galaxy. Those two things don't jive up for her. She's the first person that we legitimizes that, like, leaving the Jedi Order and going out and becoming something else is actually a viable and tenable. In a way that Dooku never did.
On some level, do we think Ahsoka is the Star Wars version of Joan of Arc?
Maybe.
That's interesting.
There's some parallels there, like, being a young, Joan of Arc leading an army at such a young age, and here we have Ahsoka doing exactly the same thing.
No, it's very. Those analogies are true. Yeah, it's very true.
It may just be superficial. It may not be more than that, but it's just a passing thought I had.
I had a passing thought on the lightsaber, the ending of it anyway.
Yeah.
Maul has learned nothing. He has the high ground and he still loses.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because he takes that first cut, and like you say, the girder bends and droops, so now he's clearly elevated above her. Oh.
And then the second thought there is to her power limits. Like, we've seen other Jedis at this point, because the dark side is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, they're struggling to pull lightsabers. But when he falls, she's just like, nope, you're here.
Yeah.
And she holds him.
That's true. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before, about like how we've seen other characters, Force wielders, struggle with trying to catch sort of things. Even Obi-Wan struggles for a minute there in his fight with Grievous, where he's hanging over the precipice and he's kind of like reaches for the blaster. It's not a clean yoink. There's a bit of an effort to get it.
So for that stuff, that kind of stuff for me, I always go back to gaming, right? So how many things is the character doing simultaneously?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Obi-Wan's doing several things there.
How split is your attention?
Right. So I sort of always think about that.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely like I don't know how it works, but universally there's got to be some sort of like break in the dark side when Maul falls. Like there's like a little window that she can reach into to like, I can at least secure him at this moment. It is spoken of that the Jedi are greatly diminished in their ability.
That's right.
And perhaps her ability has been freed up a little by her, like expressing to the universe, if you will, like that she's no longer a Jedi. She's something different. She's still a Force wielder, but maybe she's gaining access to this. I mean, you do start to get into this in the High Republic, this whole idea of other abilities that Force wielders can use. That Lauren's got a great thing that she's like, why can't Jedi and Sith fly? And so I've had to come up with my own headcanon for
why they don't.
So, like, if you think of Peter Pan, so Sith can't fly because of the joy required.
Oh, interesting.
To fly, right?
Yeah.
And so Jedi can't fly because of the arrogance required.
Right.
That's how I justify it. Lauren is like,
sure.
fuck that. Jedi should be able to fly. Sith should be able to fly. If you can levitate a rock, you can levitate yourself.
A person, yeah. It's funny, how much Maul really goes deep trying to get in her head to twist her, but she doesn't really make any overture to try to get into his head to bring him back. It's
just that one little help us.
Yeah, help us, and that's it. And he's immediately like, no. And she's like, okay. It just abandons the whole train of thought. Like, it's funny how in the greater Star Wars sort of space that redemption is this big, recurring theme, and nobody, maybe Ezra on some level later on in Rebels, kind of thinks maybe there's something to redeem there. But surprised that over the course of the Clone Wars that nobody ever tried to, get inside Maul and try to redeem him.
He was never introduced to us as anything but
as a machine.
Right. They do
predator?
get into, in the comics, they get into his birth on Dathomir and how he's recruited by Dooku at birth.
Yeah.
And they do get into that, and that he's like handed to the Emperor, and then like just essentially tortured into. So he's as trained by the Sith as Obi-Wan is trained by
the Jedi. Oh, so interesting.
It's almost like there is no redemption for him.
Yeah.
He's never been anything but.
Interesting.
But I do think there's one character that does offer him redemption, and that's in the moment of his actual death.
Oh, yeah. Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan holds him there,
yeah.
And he assures him that there will be balance. And
oh, yeah.
And then Maul interprets that like, we will be avenged. But that's Obi-Wan forgiving him as a sentient being.
Yeah, that's right.
And giving him the moment that everybody should have when they pass into the other world.
Yeah. So it was a lot to unpack today. It was a I think we're a 28-minute episode, but at the same time, like it was chocked full, and we probably could have unpacked it a little bit more, but those are all the points that I came up with this week. You guys got anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
No, we've touched on it there.
In a real big way, I think the next episode is the tearjerker.
It is.
It's the one that's going to be the densest in terms of the overlap with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And if you can, there's I don't have the link. I'll put it on the.
You can put it up on our Facebook.
Yeah. And it's a 3 hour and 41 fan edit of Revenge of the Sith and the final arc of season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to watch it that way.
This guy makes it implicit that he doesn't want to piss anybody off.
No,
he doesn't want to. He in fact he thinks it's illegal if you watch his edit if you don't subscribe to Disney Plus or own season 7
right.
Clone Wars on CD and own Revenge of the Sith on CD or DVD or
sure.
whatever. And he actually he's full of disclaimers, and it's a Twitter feed, and you can message him and he will send you a copy of it.
Oh, wow. That's super cool.
And it's great.
Well, all right, guys, that's our look back at, oh my God, what's the name of this episode? The Phantom Apprentice. I hope you guys enjoyed what we're doing. I hope you guys continue to follow along. We're going to be back next week with our next look at the next episode, which I don't have the title in front of me. You think I'd have had this by now?
Mm-hmm.
But really looking forward to unpacking it again next week. So until then, guys, may the Force be with you. And do it.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.